Welcome to the Fulcrum Podcast. Today we're here with Blessey from Aldine Metal Products, whose slogan is quality people, quality parts. They're in Connecticut and serve a variety of industries. Rod is a third-generation business owner and is here to talk about his experiences. Welcome, Rod.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
So you were once known as DJ Steel.
DJ Steel. That's who I am. That's who I was.
And that's what you did instead of working right away at the shop.
Well, I did that while I was working at the shop, but I started in college. So DJ Steel was born in college. You know, you need a DJ name.
Everybody does.
And my father, grandfather, they have a sheet metal business. So what am I going to be? DJ Stainless? No, I went with DJ Steel because it just sounded cooler.
I mean, DJ Stainless isn't bad.
It's not bad, but I mean, at the time, like if I was forward thinking, I probably would have been like, Stainless. But then if I was thinking at the time, I would have been like, I could make a lot of money being a DJ. Like I should probably just keep doing this because those guys that are out there, guys and girls that are out there DJing, make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to travel though.
Rumor has it that you used to carry $20,000 in cash on you at times.
That's just a rumor.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know where you heard that. But
I don't either.
No, I never knew. There was a lot of fun times with money as a DJ.
Okay.
But I never had that cash, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so cash or no cash, walk us back to what it was like. How did you see your dad and your grandfather's business when you were a kid?
I didn't really know much about how my grandfather had started the business, when I was a kid. We grew up above the shop. So my father would go downstairs in the morning and go to work, and he'd work all day, maybe come up for dinner, kiss us goodnight, and go back down and start working again.
You weren't allowed down there?
We were down there. I mean, we're kids, so we're playing out in the yard, running around, but you don't want us playing around the shop too much. So watched what people did, but I didn't really understand what was going on. It was more of just the way it was. But it was interesting to me to see, the family aspect of it, so my grandmother would come in, my grandfather's there and my mother and my father. And it was just what it was. It was just like going to work with your family every day. I didn't work, but it was just nice to see everybody together. Mm-hmm. So it was that my memories really of growing up over the shop are not as detailed, as my brother. He was a little bit older when we were over there. But they were always good memories.
Was there an expectation that the two of you would take over the business?
I think there was definitely an expectation that my brother would. My brother is amazingly smart and talented, and I think he just was the guy, like he was always in the shop when he was younger. I wasn't, I was out on the baseball field or doing whatever I was doing, and he was, working in the shop and learning and doing things. And so I think the expectation of me was, no, I was never going to be around the business. And had he not, decided to go out and do some amazing things with like blacksmithing and, making these cool, amazing designs and having his own business, I think that, he would have been the person that was there.
What was that like when he made that decision?
I think a family business is tough. There's always some turmoil, and there's always I think you get that expectation of you're going to be the guy, you're going to be the one that takes over. And there's a lot of pressure on you in that moment of he wants to do things his way, and my father wants to do things his way, and my grandfather did things his way. I think every family business has that sort of tension of people want to do things differently. And, I would say it was challenging, to watch him leave, because the expectation was that he would, kind of be there forever, and for me, looking up to my brother and how talented he is, and saying wow, this is a big loss for us. I'm not that guy.
Were these family discussions?
I think it was more like, yeah, we had discussions about it, but I mean, it was his choice, you know, it was what he wanted to do. And I'm sure there was a lot that went into it, you know, like there's a lot of background, and I'm not putting together all of the different stories that went into why he left, or, you know, why he decided to go out on his own and do his own thing. But for me, I just look at it from a standpoint of, wow, like, okay, he's gone. Like that option has sailed, and I think it was good and bad. You know, like I mean, obviously when he left, I was older, but when I was younger, when I was just driving the truck or whatever, like, you know, I couldn't have imagined him not being there. You know, because obviously I looked up to him and the way he did things, and you know, but we're so different. Like if he was standing here, like if we were talking, like we're two totally different people. Like you couldn't even imagine. And so I think it was just different ways, different things, and different time. You know, it progressed. And he's super successful now, and like that's awesome.
Did you immediately think, oh, well, now I got to do it?
I actually was excited. I mean, I love business. Like I actually love going to work every day. Like it is, you know, people say, oh my gosh, you're crazy. Like you're a workaholic or whatever. Like, no, I'm not a workaholic. Like I love what I do. You know, I always hear people say like, find something you love to do. Well, I didn't plan on finding something I love to do in, you know, fabricating or in the sheet metal fabricating business, but like I did. I got lucky. And, you know, being able to work with my dad every day, it's so great. Like, you know, I personally, that's one of the things I look forward to, is the fact that my family is there. Like I'm spoiled. I get to see my father every single day, and it's exciting to me.
Awesome.
Sorry, I need some water.
Sorry.
I'm not choking up, I swear. I mean, I'm excited about my dad, but.
So what was that transition like? How long did it take? What was it intentional, or were the plans set out? What did that look like?
Yeah, we had a plan. You know, there was definitely, we're lucky enough to have a CFO that is married to my father's cousin, and he's got amazing experience in business, and he kind of changed our business. He came in and was like, you know,
you asked him to come in and help, or
he offered.
Nice.
He was like, hey, you know, I'll do this for free. Like, I'll just come in. Like, let me look at what you guys are doing, what your sales are. You know, let me see your book, see what's going on. And he came back, got involved, and it was like, there's a lot of things that we can do better. You know, like, hey, everybody should have a job description. Like, you know, you're running a business. You know, like, hey, you know, we should have a budget every year. We should have a 5-year plan. Like all of those things that as a family business we weren't even thinking about. We're just like, you know, like what's next? What's the next thing down the road? You know, who can we grow? Let's look at sales. Let's look at our team. Let's look at all these things. And then we got really intentional about it. And I started to really get attracted to the fact that I like love planning. I love looking at the future. I love having goals. I like, you know, I like the team to have goals. I like all of us to see like, you know, if we put in the effort here, this is what we can achieve, you know, and we all win, you know, at that point. And so his addition to the business changed everything. So when he came in, and he was a part of that transition from when my brother left. And then we got really intentional about the team that we needed. You know, who do we need in certain key technical places in the business, and who can support, you know, that loss of talent. Good news is he came up with this plan of like, hey, you know, let's offer your brother to stay on as a technical advisor. You know, like if we need him, we can call on him, and he can be on call, and he can still. So we had a long transition period of him still being involved in the business. So it transitioned really well. And there's still like, I mean, if I really need something, then, you know, I could call him, but the team now is really capable because, you know, some of the team learned under him, you know, and they learned how to do things, and some of those things stay with us. Obviously some of the things changed. But the transition went well. I would say it was good all around.
Was there any reluctance or difficulty letting go from your dad? it sounds like there's a lot of transition. It's him to you. It's a less formal, more fluid to a more structured, intentional design plan type of a business. Was that pretty smooth?
In the beginning, it was a little bit difficult because I was looking at things like, like I want to upgrade all of our computers. I want to do more machinery. I want to upgrade everything. And he was always pretty much latest and greatest. He's put his neck out and bought the first laser for our shop, which, my brother was a part of that purchase also. And it was like huge for us. It was life-changing, because we had a laser before many people had lasers. And so he was very forward thinking, but I wanted to move things much further. Like, it's one of the reasons that I speak to you about how I'm looking at, like, okay, I'm looking at other entrepreneurs and people that are trying to take manufacturing to the next level and sort of see that big growth thing of like, how does all of this stuff get connected? And how do I make sure that I'm connected within this big global manufacturing world and am successful because I have the right tools to make sure that I'm connected and I can be successful so that, my customers see that and I'm forward thinking enough to make those, I would take those risks. I mean, some of it is risk. So I think there's where the kind of, my father and I might have not seen eye to eye on some of those decisions, but we were always in agreement with what we ended up doing. So we would always have those behind closed doors discussions. We have board meetings every quarter, and we discuss everything that's going on and what our plans on, what we plan on buying, all of the different successes and challenges, and hash them all out in a great way. And then once we make a decision, we are unified in our decision and the way we move forward. So it wasn't like an open transition. It was more like a planned, detailed way that we wanted to move forward, and we were all on board.
Awesome. So you told me about this book, this little notebook that showed all the times that your father didn't take a wage to make sure people were paid. Obviously, that was really meaningful. Tell me more about that and about the cultural elements that you kept from him and from your grandfather, and then the new things that you've introduced yourself.
Yeah, so that was one thing where you look at this old book and you see like where my father you see the people that got paid the money, and then you see a zero next to my dad and a zero next to my grandfather, and you knew that they were just making sure that their people were taken care of before themselves, and that's something that always stuck with me. Like, my team has to be first. I have to serve my team so that they can do their jobs, but every one of those people and every family and, every member of that family, I feel a responsibility to serve, to continue to grow the business so that they can be more successful. I just went out, we went out for our Christmas party, and we have a good tight group, and they were all like, hey, we're going to go get a drink afterwards. And I don't really drink, but I showed up and I walked over there, and they were all talking about, the different places that they were, different countries that they were from and their different experiences. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put up a flag in our shop from every country where someone came from that country. Like, if you came from that country, if you were born in that country, your flag goes up. So next morning, I ordered all the flags, and we put them up 2 weeks ago. And wow, like a little thing, like spending a few dollars on a flag, but they're like, you know what? There's my flag. Obviously, American flag's higher than everybody else's flag, but still, it's like little things like that of like people first. That means something to them, and it means something to me because it's my responsibility for them. So to see, kind of connect it back to where my grandfather and father knew that the people were the most important thing, I've sort of taken that really to heart, to where like, yeah, they are the most important. And if I can just figure out a way to support them, and try and make sure I make good decisions and I'm thoughtful about my decisions that affect them, then I think we all can succeed. And it's the culture, if they know I'm willing to, come into the break room and have a conversation with them and listen to them say, hey, it would be really cool if we had X, Y, or Z, and then go and do it. Like, I think that's important. It's listening. And if there's ever going to be a time when we struggle, they're going to be the ones that get supported first. And that's, that was really, COVID was kind of a big thing where like, everybody got hit with that thing. And as business owners, we had to look like, what can we do? Any way that we can do it to make sure that our team is taken care of. We worked through the whole thing, but there were people that got sick and, didn't have time. And like, we had to make sure that we spent those hours doing the paperwork for the different, programs that could support the team members to make sure they got paid and make sure that the company was moving forward and successful and people were healthy and the cleaning and all those things. Like, that's my job. That's our job as leaders to do that for them. And not that they expect it, but if we do it well, it makes it a better work environment and makes it a better place for them to be. So I think that the whole thing about culture is what I learned by looking at those times, and my father told me a story once. I don't have it exactly right, but I'll tell the best that I remember of when they lost, they were doing a lot of government work. It was our business was basically formed doing a lot of Navy stuff. And, they didn't have work. So some of the employees, they had a friend who had a business and they got them jobs to work, while they didn't have any work, to go over there while they were out working. My father and my grandfather went to New York to try to find jobs, any jobs that they could. And he said they both went into this one place to interview for jobs. And my father got interviewed for the job, and there was guys lined up all over the place looking for jobs. And then he came out and he was like, well, my father needs a job too. And they're like, oh no, we don't need anybody, like that age. And he was like, this is like insane. Like why? Because he's older? Like, it's not going to, get work. And it always was like, wow, like they were scrapping so much that they literally were going out there looking for anything just to make ends meet, but made sure that the team had places to work before they had places to work. And they were willing to go do that. And then obviously, my dad hit the streets and started selling commercial work instead of the military stuff while that was slow. And that's where the business really took off. So I think I always have this appreciation of I should never expect anything. Like, I have to work really hard to make sure that things happen, but it's not all about me either. It's about the team, but it's a passion of people, and it's a passion to serve. I really enjoy serving, and I make mistakes like everybody else. Like I've screwed up. I've had conversations, on the shop floor that I should have had in my office, and I do things that I, learned from. It makes me a better leader and a better person for the future. But I've come to a place right now where I really feel like with the team we have and the future we have built with some younger team members and cross training and, making sure that they're taken care of and that they can grow their family and they can do the things that they need to do, that we're in a pretty good place to be able to grow. And I'm excited about that.
I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
This philosophy of service, it seems to extend out to your customers, the people you do business with. You talk a lot about how you treat those relationships as partnerships more than just, sales relationships. Was that something that you got from your grandfather and your father, or how did that come about, and how has that served you in the business?
Yeah, no, that was really something that I remember. I listened, to the way that people were talking about. It used to be when I was first going out for sales, like it used to be, you were looking for that sale, you were looking for that contract, just give me something to bid, right? And I was like, do I really want to do that? Like, I don't want to just keep going out there and trying to get the next bid and like try to be 5 cents cheaper than the next guy. Like, that's not going to get a long-term relationship with somebody. Like, I want someone who's going to see me as a partner. And it clicked. I said, a partner. I was like, I need to have partnerships with I need to have business relationships where I say, listen, I'm your partner. Like, I'm going to give you the best price I can, but I'm going to give you really, really good service. And my team is always open to you. But if I'm not doing what you need me to do, you tell me and I'll adjust to it. And if I see things that you're doing that I think you could be more successful if you change things, you know, maybe you make a part differently or you do something differently in the way that you ship a part or whatever it is, like, we're going to say it too, because we're partners. And if we go into that relationship knowing that there's going to be some positives and negatives throughout the relationship as a partner, and there's some give and take, then we both win, because my goal is only to make my customers successful. You know, if I'm trying to like make a lot of money with something and they're not competitive, well, number one, they're going to find somebody else. But number two, I'm just making a terrible long-term decision, because I want them to grow. I want them to make more, you know? So that's where the partnership came. And I will discuss this with potential customers day one meeting. I really believe I have to be upfront. Like, I'll simply say, like, I'm not looking for you to come in here and give me an opportunity. Like, if you want to have a relationship, I will go all in for you. Everybody here is willing to go all in for you. All we're asking for is communication. And obviously, as we're building that relationship, if we're competitive, great. If we're close, great. We know we're going to have the quality. We know we're going to have the service. We know we can do those things really well. But if we fit into your model, then let's go for the partnership. You know, let's have our teams meet each other. Let us come to your place and see your place. You know, bring all your team to my place. Like, let's make sure we make that effort so that people know each other and they put faces to not just a person on the email or a person on a Zoom or whatever. And like, let's get together. I think that changes a lot. And I think it's really important. I love the fact that we can do things, you know, in the cloud. And I love the fact that we can work anywhere and do all of that thing. But I do believe in relationships. And I think it's important that you build those relationships in person. Like, just coming here to meet you. Like, it's really important to meet your team. Like, it's, you know, like the team that we're working with all the time. Like, it's fantastic. You know, is it absolutely necessary? No, but there's a lot of value there that you see and that I see, and that's the reason you do it, right? Is like, you make that effort because there's a tremendous amount of value to having relationships, partnerships, because that's where, like, you're going to have a back and forth that allows both groups or both companies to be successful. So that philosophy was more of like, it came from me just learning. You know, I was out there as I was listening to things, and then being bold enough to say, without this partnership, I'm not really interested. And that's tough to do, you know, because you're saying like, and it's okay. Like, that's your business model. You don't want a long-term partnership with someone. That's fine. You know, you can just keep pricing people. You can send it out online and you'll get 1,000 quotes. Go ahead. It just doesn't work for me because I'm not that guy. We are not that company. I shouldn't say I'm not that guy, but we're not that company.
Yeah. It's a philosophy that your team seems to just absorb. Like, there doesn't seem to be any sort of, you know, calamity about it. Everybody seems to get it.
Yeah, it was, we're all on the same page. I mean, we talk about it a lot, you know, have discussions, you know, like when you follow up with a quote, or when you follow up on a project, you know, like, talk about the project. Like, it's really good to know what they're building, why they're building it. You know, what's the goal? You know, those things are, and everybody wants to know, right? Like, just like when I go back, everybody's going to want to know, you know, what was the experience like? You know, what is Fulcrum like? You know, what was it like chatting with Sonny? Like, you know, and when can I listen to the podcast? Like, you know, I got like 15 of those texts this morning. Like, I can't wait. And because we're in it together, you know, we care about, you know, what's going on in each other's lives. And of course, what's going on with business. And I think, man, I keep going back to it, but it's relationship based. I mean, everything's about a relationship. I just can't see myself looking at the one sale, like the one the one moment where I make like one project. Like I can't see that, you know, and again, that's something you have to learn and you have to feel comfortable with. There's a lot of people that are really, really successful at working that way. I just can't do it because I kind of like feel like I'm left out. Like if I did one sale for you and then like I didn't hear from you for a while, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I failed. But that just might be their business model. I just didn't see it. So,
I mean, this is like a very counterintuitive feeling, right? You're the way you're describing it, most people don't understand that. They want every sale that they can. Is this the most counterintuitive thing that you've learned? Is there any other secrets where if you go back in time and you think of yourself as a much younger person, something that you believe that completely changed since you've been working in the business?
Well, I think I used to get intimidated by discussions about business. And what I mean by intimidated was I felt like that customer that I'm trying to have a relationship with, like I'm just this little guy that they control. And they have all the power and I'm not bringing anything to the table. Like I'm just the guy that needs them to be able to sell stuff to them to be successful. And then I learned, no, we need each other. Like I'm bringing something to the table here. Like we are good at what we do and we can be successful together. And I think that sort of changed for me was that we need each other. You know, they may not choose me, but we do need each other, led me to have more confidence and not be intimidated and start, you know, talking to people as equals and, you know, feeling like, you know, I could bring stuff to the table and I could share with them. And sure, they're going to teach me things, but like we're going to work together and learn from each other as opposed to me just being the salesperson that's just got to wait for them to choose me. So
when did that change or how did that change?
I would say that was probably like, I don't know, between 15, 18 years ago in my head. And that was more like, you know, I was driving the truck for a long time and then I, you know, started getting into some sales and, you know, as you're driving the truck, you kind of see people that, you know, you meet that are purchasing people or whatever. And so I started building relationships and then I was like, you know, my dad's like, hey, you know, you're pretty good at this thing. Like, why don't you go out and start knocking on doors and like see what you can do? And again, being that truck driver mentality of like, oh, I'll do whatever you want. Like, how can I help? Like, I'll move whatever. Like I was that, you know, like again, the person who was being intimidated to, as I developed relationships and listened to these people and found out like, no, they're like, okay, you know what? We can work together. And so that change happened early. And then it was me learning by, you know, process of like, okay, you know, people used to knock on everybody's doors, right? You know, and then it was like, well, maybe I can make phone calls, you know, maybe I can send emails and start, you know, communicating that way and like build relationships before I knock on the door. And like, so I started doing a lot of that and just working it. And just like, you know, how do you talk to someone who's 20, 30 years older than you know, about why I think I'm good at what I do. And that, you know, that's challenging, you know? So I think growth, you know, and getting older and learning and learning from both my team and my successes and my failures, transitioned me. But it really happened pretty quick for me because I'm just a people person and, you know, I'm not, but I also was never willing to sell my soul for anything. Like I was a guy, like, I'm never going to give you something to get a job. I'm never going to give you something just to get work from you. Like, if you want that, then I'm out. Like I just never was going to be that guy. So
and you have a good sense of reading people if they're that kind of person.
Oh yeah. You knew. And you always, you know, people talk about it. People always knew like there was those people that like, you know, oh, they got a kickback on the side or somebody was taking them out to do whatever or whatever. And I was like, well, then that's not us. Let's go to the next guy, like the next person. Like this. Yeah, that was never going to be me. That was just not going to happen. And to our detriment, you know, like there's some opportunities I lost because I wasn't willing to do it. I just said, it's not me.
Not something, the lack of regret is worth it, or not having to regret it is worth it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you have to have integrity. And, one of the other things that my father and my grandfather, that I take more from my father than my grandfather, because, I didn't have major conversations with him, but your word is very important. And your handshake deal is a handshake deal. And, it may not, you may have to get something on paper, but if you say you're going to do it, do it. Whatever you got to do to make it happen. If you said you were going to make it happen, then you got to go all in.
Mm-hmm. So you're the third generation.
Yep.
And we're in an era right now where it's the fewest number of family businesses that have a successor or will have the next generation take over the business in manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And in America, there's a rich heritage of multi-generational manufacturing businesses. Why do you think that is? Is it a problem that businesses aren't going to the next generation? Do you think we should be encouraging more of that? Is there something we should be doing as a whole community to change that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so you're talking to a guy who didn't think he was ever going to be in the business and found out that he loved it. And so my perspective on it is that I don't necessarily think for my family that it would work if you force or try to pre-plan your children to be a part of the business, because if you don't love it and if you don't have a passion for it, then you probably shouldn't do it. And I think more business owners are coming to the realization that, like, if my kids really got a passion for, doing something else in their life, I want them to do that. And I know they're going to be successful in life, and maybe they won't, be super successful in having their own business, but they love that. And as a father, I would much rather have my children choose something they love than feel like they're trapped in something and I think something that, not that they hate, but something that they have to do. And that's, I think culturally it changed, like before it would be like, no, like, I don't care what you love. I don't care if you love doing that. Like, no, get over here and get to work. Like, you're working here because we need this to go, and I need employees, and I need you, and I need the rest of the team. And then this is going to be yours one day, period, the end. We've evolved and we've changed to where, no, if you don't want to do it, I'm okay with that. And I think that's come with, some level of, success, but also because we work so hard and we love our family and we look at them and we just want the best for them. So I think it's changing a little bit because people see a way out. I think you didn't really see it. Like, there wasn't as much opportunity for younger kids to make choices in a lot of different places. Like right now, there's a lot of jobs out there, especially in manufacturing. There's a ton of jobs. And if I could get my kids to come in and work in manufacturing and love it, I would do it. But I would much rather them choose it. So I'm not going to force that. I'm going to encourage and let them know that being a business owner is challenging, but it's also rewarding, and it also has a lot of benefits. And there's things that I can do that you can't do as an employee that's got to show up and be there every day and spend those hours. But if you don't want that, then that's okay. Go somewhere else. Do something else. Find something you love. Find something you love and go for it. You're young. Make mistakes. Like, choose something that you're going to do.
Go be a DJ.
Go be a DJ, man. Like, how many people you're going to meet being a DJ? Like, yeah, and yes. So hopefully that answered your question, but I think it's more of a cultural shift in owners wanting what's best for their kids and knowing that it's okay for them to walk away for something that's been generational. And maybe sell it or sell it off or whatever, and just let them be happy and do their own thing.
So you said that you love to plan. How do you plan for something like this? Big unknown about the future of the continuity of the business.
I think from my perspective, you plan on what my life is going to look like. Like, I want to be in this business for as long as I can be in this business. And when I start to get to a point where, I'm older, maybe 20 years from now, that's when I would start to think about it. You know, is there someone that's shown interest, or is there someone that might, you know, want to come in and that I know is going to have the same way of thinking, you know, maybe someone that's been in the company for, you know, 20 or 30 years and they're ready to take a challenge on themselves. You know, I would love for one of my team members, you know, to be an owner of the business and carry on the tradition. It doesn't have to be one of my kids. You know, what can they do? And I think that's there's a challenge in when you look at the future of why would somebody want to do it, and would it be better for them if they started on their own, you know, and they didn't just have an opportunity. But if I can be around while there's a transition, let's say, to someone who's not family, I think I would like it. I think I would like that challenge because they're going to take a risk themselves, you know. How all that looks and how all that works and how the money works and all that kind of stuff, I have no idea. Because I like to plan, but I'm not planning 25 years from now.
Sure.
But I just don't know. One of my kids could surprise me and really like the business. And if they don't, then I'll figure out something else. I mean, maybe one day you sell the business. Maybe you go into another business that they like. You know, maybe I'm able to sell this business and get into something that they're doing and support them. I don't know.
And in planning your own life and looking at your job as a leader of the business, you said just now that you want to work in the business for as long as you can, as long as you're useful. What are the things that you've really done that have meaningfully added to your ability to lead and that you are excited to continue to grow into?
I'll tell you one thing that's is organizational structure has been the most important thing that we've done. I came from a history of top-down, you know, management. Here's the decision we made. Here's the way we're doing it. Go do it. And now I'm to the point where I have really talented people. Let them do their jobs. Let them make decisions. Let them fail. Let them figure things out. Let them succeed. And that's the biggest change I've had, is stepping away from the things I don't need to be involved in. And when I can do that and let them do their what they need to do together and learn from each other and learn from those things that you know, maybe I've learned from, and I could jump in and I could tell them how to do it really easily, you know, because that's the way I'll do it this way. I had to fight myself to not do it. Let them figure it out. Let them talk to each other. Let them do it. And so the less people that are coming to you directly, the better they become as leaders for their teams and for their departments. And as a company grows, I think you can't have growth if you don't know how to let go of responsibilities and delegate to your team, and make sure that you don't have any upward delegation back to you. and if you can do that successfully and then support your team, that to me has changed everything. And I think that it's made me love things more.
How did it change them? How have you seen it change the team?
Oh, I see them really going for it. Like it was like a period of time where, like, you know, cause you're a family business, right? So some people have been around for 20, 30 years and they know how things were. So you have to change that culture. You have to change that feeling of like, you don't have to ask me. Don't ask me. Go do it. Like, you know better. Just go do it. Like, you know better than I do. You do this. This is your lane. It's not my lane. And so it took some time, but once they got it, I'm seeing like amazing things happen. I'm seeing them do things that like I would never even thought of, nor would I have even, you know, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, look what you did with that. Like, this is holy cow. Like, you guys came together and did, like, oh, that's awesome. Like, and I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing things that are done that I never would have thought of in the way that I never would have, you know, done myself, but are super successful. And the team is responding positively to those, you know, directors and having, I only have 5 direct reports now. Like a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have had 11. It's insane, right? But now those 5 people are, they got their direct reports and they're working it. It's beautiful. I'm really excited about that. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the amazing amount of time you get to look at the bigger picture and really look at, how you run the business and the plans and the things that you need to do. You just do it. You do it with hours before, right? Because you just work more hours. But now you just work smarter because you let people do what they're capable of doing.
It's a hard transition for manufacturers who are all about control and precision and accuracy to let go of control, to let that happen, right?
Yeah, and I know this is not a Fulcrum podcast, and like we're going to focus on that. But I will say that the Fulcrum Pro platform had a lot to do with the change, because people are allowed to work within their lane with a lot of information at their fingertips all the time, and I'm able to work in my lane, seeing the whole thing in real time all the time. So information makes your job easier. And so when I started getting like real time stuff and like I could see things, I could communicate to my team, this is what you need to look for. You need to look for, if these things are going on here, you might need to attack that problem. But teach them what to look for within the system so they could do it themselves. And then I could sit back and look at the whole thing and quarterback, and it's pretty amazing. I know, in the future, when you got all the machines connected and like they're telling you if they're running or not running. And like, I know there's some of that technology out there now, but when all of that stuff happening, it's all information, right? That like lets you make better decisions. Information's the key. And that's why you want to be able to give your customers the most information that they can have. They want to know in real time, like what's happening with this part. Are you on time? Or did you have a struggle? Like, has there been anything? Like, is anything stuck on pause or like, where it hasn't moved through the process? And so information in this platform has been, for me, something that has changed everything. And the ease of use. I mean, it's so fast. Like, we're in a fast-paced business, right? You got to be able to move. Like, I feel like I can move very fast. Like, I don't have to go out to the guy that's on the laser to let him know that this job is the hottest job in the shop and needs to be run next. I just have to sit at my computer and change it to high priority, and it's going to go to the top of his list. And I know that it's going to go to the top of everybody else's list, and it's done. It literally flies through. I don't even have to get out of my chair. I like getting out of my chair and I like going to talk about it, but I'm just saying, like, that's something that as a business owner, you want to be able to have that control, but it's me maybe quarterbacking, but they're just doing what they do. I didn't come out there and go, get this job done. This is the hottest thing we need to do. I just let the system tell them this is the hottest thing we need to do. I don't need to get excited about it. I don't need to, have everybody together and have a big meeting about it. I just need to tell them, using the system, what I need done. So you can erase that out if you want, but I'm just saying that's a good Fulcrum plug.
It is. So you're a man of stories. If I imagine you writing an autobiography, I imagine the book is just filled with stories. Mm-hmm. So fast forward 20 years, chapter 1, what is the most incredible story that you're going to start your own autobiography out with?
So 20 years from now, I got to work at 9:00 because I didn't have to be there at 6 anymore. And my daughter and my son stopped in to bring me my grandkids to say hi for my birthday. And boy, was it a great birthday. I had my grandkids there, I had my kids there, and I was in the place that I love, and my family was there. And it was a glorious, glorious start to the day. I think it would always start with family.
And also
my wife too. Did I say that my wife? I said my wife was there, and my kids were there, but my wife was there first. Make sure you put that. You got that? Make sure you put that.
You said
in.
it, we don't
I said that, right?
You said it. I heard
okay.
it. Yeah.
When you
So the
edit it,
camera
it's
heard
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 20 years from now, you're still doing the 6 a.m. to 2:30 thing.
No, I got there at 9.
Well, your
No.
shop is, yeah.
I just, my dad is there every day. He's not there at 6 o'clock, but he comes in every day. It is, I love it. I think you got to keep going to work. You can't stop. If you love something, or if you go do that. Even if I just come in and I sit down on my desk and I check emails, or I watch TV, or like whatever I do, like I'm still a part of something, and then if I'm able, if we're successful enough where I can take off, and travel with my wife and, do some things, that would be awesome. Spend some time with my family. I think that would be awesome, but I'm not like trying to like take months and do that. Like, I like being a part of everything, but if I don't have to be, that's cool too. If everybody else is doing their thing and they're happy and successful too, then I'm fine with that. But I think it would always start. Like, you always got to think about family. I mean, that's just me. Like, I'm a fan. Like, it's got to be about family.
So no pressure to take the business over, but definitely pressure to have grandchildren.
Oh yeah, I want grandkids. That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. If they decide to do that, that would be awesome. Yeah. No pressure to take the business, but grandkids.
So one little nugget, you guys work from 6 a.m. to 2:30.
Yep.
And people love it.
Yeah, it was their choice.
They came to you with it.
Yeah, they actually came. I think they came to my brother with that. It was summertime, and they're like, why don't we come in earlier? So we get, the heat of the day. We don't have to work in the heat of the day. We'll just all come in earlier, and we'll get done at 2:30, and it'll be done. So we're out of here, and it just stuck. Like, they were like, no, we don't want to change this. I don't care if it's winter. I don't care when it is. Like 6 to 2:30, I have the rest of my day. Like, they can get their kids from school. They can go do things with their family. They can go home and do nothing, work on the house, do whatever they want to do, because they have the rest of their day. And it's something that became a benefit, people being able to come in early and leave early and be done. I think that was, it was a game changer for the shop. And something that they chose, and they chose it, so we're not going to change it. If they like it, that's great. It's been a good selling point to potential team members. Is like, hey man, 6 to 2:30, or hey, if you want to be here 6 to 2:30, you're out of here. I think at first it's like 6. Like, who wants to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning?
5.
Well, yeah, you're getting up at 5 and then you're going to work. Yeah. Who wants to do that? But for people that fits their schedule, it's like, well, there's a lot of opportunity, instead of me starting at 7 or 8 o'clock and getting home at 4:30, or 5 o'clock, then I have the rest of the time with my family. Maybe someone likes to cook, I want to go home, cook the dinner for my family, like whatever it is, they have that option. And some people like to work other jobs. Like, we want their job to be ours first, but some people just have to do it, right? And they're go-getters and they want to do it. So like, okay, go ahead. Like, as long as you can make it work. Or some people like to go to school. Like, we have, one of our guys actually is going to advanced manufacturing classes at night, to learn more skills and, be able to learn to do more things so he can, get promoted faster. And it's exciting that they have that opportunity.
I think that, looking back through this transitionary period, all the way through this through line of how you've taken this business and grown it to where it is now, what are things that you're expecting to happen in the future? Everybody, maybe not 25 years in the future, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. How do you think manufacturing is changing? How do you think Aldine is changing? How do you think the team and the company is changing? You're more of a gardener now. What are you curating your business toward? Well,
Aldine itself, I think if you talk about Aldine, I think we're going to continue to grow. We got really good people. Things are going to continue to be very successful. Manufacturing, I think, is really got an opportunity to do big things right now. Yes, there's reshoring. So the way I look at it is I'm a smaller guy, but like when reshoring happens, like the bigger companies, they get like slammed with a lot of these large projects, and some of the smaller projects kind of trickle down to other people who are going to, see them as bigger projects. And so I think that's a good thing. Plus, because of the connectivity, because of the information sharing and ways that we're connected now, it's easier to do business with different people in different places all over, and so manufacturing is blossoming in that way. I also think that, U.S. companies, we're really good at making sure we have the latest technology and making sure that we have good trained workforce. I don't think we have a good trained workforce in as a whole, in the United States. But I think we are good at training people to learn skill. And so we take that upon ourselves, to make sure those people get trained and they learn those skills, as opposed to, like you used to go to vocation school or whatever, and they would send people out and they would already have some skills. That's not as much anymore. We don't see that. We're starting to see a little bit of it come back, but not as much as it was. And it's definitely not enough to serve manufacturing as a whole. We have to do the training, and we have to do what we need to do to make sure that we continue to be successful. But technology's helping, right? So a lot of the younger people that come to work for us, they know computers much better than I do. They know how, to use that technology better than I do. And and the machinery now is, some of them got face IDs, and some of them got, you can talk to them and tell them what you need it to do when you're programming it. And some of them, they're going to type in, and they're going to draw pictures, and they're going to do all sorts of stuff super fast because they're used to working on that in that technology, and they can get things made faster because that's what we've led to. It's manufacturing has gotten smarter and faster and better. And so the jobs are still there because you need people to run those machines. You need people who understand how to make parts and do all of those things. So the jobs aren't going anywhere. It's just the knowledge that you need to do them is different. And so you still need some of that really good, smart people to do some things, but the machines are going to, help us. That technology is going to help us, in the future, I think, in manufacturing. I think it's good. I think manufacturing is going to continue to grow. 2, 3, 4 years, I think we're still sitting in a great place.
Yeah. So, little message in the bottle. There's somebody else out there that's just like you when you were starting to fall in love with manufacturing. It's happening all over the place right now. Mm-hmm. What message would you give to that person?
I mean, same thing I started off with in this conversation. Learn how to serve. Learn how to serve your team and learn how to serve your customers. If you do that and then you really work hard, I mean, every single thing that I've said, it always is backed up with, you got to work hard. You got to put in the effort. You got to do what needs to be done. Nothing comes for free. Nothing is easy. Manufacturing is difficult. There's tough things. You got to make decisions that could make or break your business. You have to, put in time and effort and planning, and you have to go for it. But at the end of the day, you make those decisions, in my opinion, you make those decisions each day because you know that the responsibility of that team and the responsibility for your family and the responsibility for their families and growing that business that's what's driving you, because you're driven to be successful. And yeah, you want to make a lot of money and you want to go into manufacturing and be successful. Well, then work your butt off and go for it and serve the whole time that you're working your butt off. If you can do that, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's just not. But I think if you're getting into manufacturing, you're doing it because you love it. And if you love it, then you need to love the people, be firm, obviously. And so that leads to another thing. Like, it's always like, well, you love your team and you support your team and your team. What about the people that are not on the team? they got to fit the culture of, you know, from the top down, you know, of like, we're all going to work together and we're all trying to be successful, and you're going to have people that don't. And then you have to remember that when you have people that don't, or when you have people that are not willing to put in the effort the same way that the rest of your team, you're not firing them because you think they suck, or because you think that they're not good enough. You're saying, no, I'm looking out for everybody else. Yep. I'm always looking out for the rest of the team. Everybody else is putting in their effort and doing their thing. And if you're not willing to do the same thing, then sometimes those things have to go. I would just say, don't wait too long. You know, if you're in manufacturing, you find the right people that treat them great. And if you find the wrong one, don't say, well, they do a good job for me every day and I'll put up with it. I wouldn't. I learned that.
It's great advice. And, you know, this service, I think we believe here that it's deeply needed. These things, these buildings, these trucks and cars and equipment doesn't make itself. People like you make them. People that figure out how to bend metal and laser cut stuff and make it all fit together and work well. So I think that there's a far bigger future for manufacturing, just because we all need stuff to make our lives better. So
I agree with you. Manufacturing is I think we're looking at some good stuff. I think you can look at the stock market, and you can look at, you know, what is the GDP and what's the growth of this, and you get into the weeds of all these things where people get pessimistic or some people get optimistic. And I look at, for me, stay in your lane and work as hard as you possibly can. There's a lot of opportunity out there. You got to find it, or somebody else is going to find it, but it's there. And if you want it, and if you are, you know, a go-getter and you really want to get it, manufacturing there's a lot of opportunity there. So I think it's a great time for manufacturing. And also because that global look, right? That bigger picture, that, you know, where you could sell all over the United States and you could sell all over the world, and like everybody's connected, and you can jump on and meet somebody, you know, on a screen and have meetings with each other and do all these collaborative things that you couldn't do before. Like, yeah, I think it's a great time.
Yeah. Well, Rod, thanks for coming, sharing your story, and thanks for telling my team that they need to be more grateful about all the benefits that they have here.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you renaming someone needy.
Yeah, well, it's deserved. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.